Now we're being recorded. Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Samti Namaste. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaura Bhakti Prasad Nivasesha Hari Prashtatara Satarane Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakti Vinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, 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 Hare Hare. Okay. Even though I'm pretty sure you will have Bhagavad Gita, but I'm in the habit of sharing it on the screen.
Prabhuji, which chapter are we reading?
We're on chapter 4.
Chapter 4 and text?
Today we're beginning text 39.
39.
So, Radhasansan is asking for the link, but that's the same thing, isn't it?
It's the same link. It's not a new link. So hopefully she's still got it. Anyone's got it there and they know how, they can copy the link and paste it on her WhatsApp sender. But it's the same link. Yeah. Okay, we'll let her battle away with that and see if she can make it in the front door, so to speak. All right, so this is text 39. I was looking at last week where we left off, and we covered a couple of verses last week. We covered, I think we covered 3 verses, 36, 37, and 38. And there's a total of 42 verses in this chapter. So we're coming to the end of this chapter. And just to summarize quickly, let's just look at text 36. A few people coming now. Text 36, Krishna's speaking about the power of transcendental knowledge. And he mentions very graphically, even if you're the most sinful of all sinners, such transcendental knowledge can free one from all reactions to your karma in this world. Can everyone hear me okay? My voice is okay?
Yes.
My voice is a little bit weak today. So in this way he mentions one can cross over the ocean of the material world, which is known as the ocean of misery, through on the boat of transcendental knowledge. So it's very poetically put. On the boat of transcendental knowledge, we can cross the ocean of grief. I think it's there in the purple. Let me just check. Go to the purple. There we, oh no, not in this purple. Yeah. Yeah, it mentions that the struggle, if someone is maybe an expert swimmer, but if he's trying to swim across the Atlantic Ocean, he will definitely struggle to actually do so. But if someone comes to help him, if someone comes to assist him, then he can do so. So in the same way, to cross over this ocean of miseries, Duratyaya, is very, very difficult, as you might have experienced. So by chapter 4 speaks about transcendental knowledge. So the development of transcendental knowledge and the blessings of Krishna. This enables us to cross over the ocean of grief. So that's text 36. And those who join us on text 39, we're just having a quick, what's called a lion's glance, a quick look back at the previous verses. So text 37, Krishna, and then he gives another nice poetic explanation as well. This is a fire burning wood turns wood into ashes. So does the fire of knowledge burn to reactions, the reactions of all material activities. And if you remember that discussion, Prabhupada is quoting more or less from the Nectar of Devotion, the first chapter of the Nectar of Devotion. And there's a discussion there about bhakti, which frees one from all ignorance, which is based on knowledge. And then it mentioned the different reactions. And you remember the words priori and a priori. Remember we discussed that. So even the sinful activities which we performed in previous lifetimes, which enter in as a seed and will fructify in time, either in this life or in the next life or in a life after. Yeah. The activities or development of transcendental knowledge. And someone could say, what is transcendental knowledge in essence?
It's transcendental knowledge. It's knowledge. Knowledge about Krishna.
Yeah, thank you. That's it. It's knowledge about Krishna specifically. And especially Krishna described in the beginning of this chapter why he appears. Yeah. When he appears. Yeah. What's those verses? Anyone can know? Yadi yada hi dhamma shuklani bhavati bharata abhuttanam tamamacha tadatmacham shrijami aham. So knowledge about Krishna, his so-called janma, birth, his so-called karma and activities, that constitutes transcendental knowledge. Now, Prabhupada also in some places, he characterizes transcendental knowledge as knowledge of the soul. Yeah? Sometimes he categorizes it as Gyan. But essentially, it's knowledge about Krishna. So yes, correct. Thank you. Transcendental knowledge. So then we're looking at text 37, become free from the binds of the material world. And then text 38, another nice verse. Krishna just looking here in this world, there's nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Yeah. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism. And one who's become accomplished in this knowledge enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. That means Kalena means in course of time. Yeah. So I was just looking at the commentary on this, and Bodhijan is quoting, I think he's quoting one of our acharyas, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, that Kalena means time. So in course of time. So here Krishna's warning against premature renunciation. So in other words, adopting the garb of a sannyasi. So it's sometimes done by Mayavadis. And they think that just by adopting the garb or becoming a sannyasi, they will automatically gain knowledge and detachment. But sorry, it's not as easy as that. So in course of time, yeah, so it's gradually revealed in the heart of someone who's practicing Nishkam Karma Yoga. They're not attached to the fruits of their work. Okay, that's where we left off last week. Hope that didn't complicate things. Hope that understand where we are picking up. So let's begin the reading then. So text 39. I've got it here. Someone would like to read. If you can read the Sanskrit, it's nice. We're doing that here for the Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, just one quickly.
Please,
It's like
yeah.
Nitamaya can't join and asking for a registration link.
I'll send Lavanda's link in just a second.
Yeah, please send it. It's the same link.
Please, I can't keep doing this. I can't even hear the class. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Perhaps the guy can take over that part. She's probably more expert in dealing with it.
Yeah, I can't do things like this. Okay, well, shall we, which one we do?
Let's share the ocean of transcendental knowledge.
Shall I read it?
Go ahead.
Is there anybody? No, please, anybody else wants to read it with good Sanskrit?
It keeps coming in and coming out. Just read it, Mother. Time is precious.
Shraddhava labhate jnanam tatpara samyat indriya jnanam labdva param shantim achiran adigachati.
Yeah.
Translation. A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge. And having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. Such knowledge in Krishna consciousness can be achieved by a faithful person who believes firmly in Krishna. One is called a faithful man who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness, he can attain the highest perfection. This faith is attained by the discharge of devotional service and by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, which cleanses one's heart of all material dirt. Over and above this, one should control the senses. A person who is faithful to Krishna and who controls the senses can easily attain perfection in the knowledge of Krishna consciousness without delay.
Okay, thank you. So, few things here, but first ask any questions or comments here. Speaking about Shraddha, faith. Shraddhavan, a faithful person. Yeah. So this is the qualification needed for attaining transcendental knowledge. One has to be faithful, dedicated, and also sense-controlled. Yeah, these three prerequisites are required. So Prabhupada mentions here obtaining faith by chanting the holy name of Krishna. But there's stages before that as well. Yeah, and Prabhupada just explains again in the Nectar of Devotion, there's different stages are described. 9 is devotional service. Some is categorized in different ways. Rupa Goswami characterizes it into 9. The first being faith, Shraddha. And then what comes after that in Rupa Goswami's characterization of the 9 stages?
Is it not association with devotees?
Yeah, Sadhu Sangha.
Sadhu
Yeah.
Sangha.
Sadhu Sangha. And I think we've also spoke about this in our previous, some time back, our readings of Sudha Bhakti Chintamani. Yeah. So what is it that brings someone even into the temple? And what is it that convinces someone, I will never go in a Hare Krishna temple in my life? You won't see me dead in a Hare Krishna temple.
That is unknowing Sukriti, the Agata Sukriti.
Yeah. What is that exactly, Nitai Mata? You mentioned
It's called Agata Sukriti.
Yeah. Explain.
We don't know what we did. We didn't think. We gave some money maybe to somebody on the street. Just took a pamphlet, gave it, and that person that used that money in some service of Krishna, that is also possible.
Yeah, thank you. That's just, it's like what is called unknowing devotional credits that the one obtains. So for instance, one may be charitable and they may make a kind of a vow that whoever asks me for charity, whoever comes knocking on my door, then I will give some charity. I don't know if there's many persons like that around now.
What about the ones that,
Let me finish this, Fred. And then, the Jehovah's, all types of people come, charities for dogs or penguins, and they give something. But then a devotee knocks on the door, gives them a book and they give some donation. So that's unknowing devotional service. So that kind of goes into like a balance within the heart. And when that builds up to a certain degree, then one will find oneself automatically attracted to devotees or to devotional principles. It may manifest in the next life. Sorry, Mother Chandravali, you were saying something.
No, I was going to ask a question about, when you're going on Harinam and you singing and there's lots of souls hearing the Mahamantra, so they'd also get it, as eventually they'll get it somewhere.
Yeah, and that's one of the primary reasons why we do go out and we chant loudly. Prabhupada says here, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. But that will be unknowing devotional credits. But there will be some persons who will become very adverse, and I'm sure we've met them, those of us who have been on a Harinam, or then there are some persons who, seeing us, they or perhaps not so much now, but they conclude these persons are completely crazy. And they may lose faith, you know. That's why we have to be very careful on their presentation of Krishna consciousness to people. We want, you know, they have very little faith anyway, so we don't want to challenge it too much. You know, still they will get benefit from actually chanting the holy name. Yeah. So that's faith. You know, one has faith, one that comes in to the temple, one listens to the devotees, or one may have enough faith to pick up the Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada mentioned also that faith is it's not something, it's something that everyone has faith. Even the atheist has faith. But what they have faith in is different than someone who is a devotee. Yeah. Like they have faith in their fellow atheists. They have faith in their atheistic arguments. So faith is a human characteristic, but it depends on what it is. But it will differ according to particular modes of material nature.
Prabhu, can I say
Yes,
something, Prabhu? Can I ask something?
You can ask something.
Yeah, I was thinking now, Rath Yatra is going to be coming soon. There are many will dance in front of Lord Jagannath knowingly, and they don't know, they don't have any faith. They just wanted to dance for the drum beat, for the tune. They like they are pleasure seeking. Anyway, we all are pleasure seeking. So we are just dancing. Don't have any clue what's happening. But this is also kind of Agata Sukriti, I thought.
Yes, correct. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, again, it's unknowing devotional service. Yeah. One time I was on Balaram's cart, and Balaram's cart goes in front. And there was this drunkard who was in front of the cart. And he was dancing and dancing, and he was dancing. So it seemed to me he was dancing and dancing. Then he'd stop. He'd turn around and put his arms in the air and look towards Lord Balaram and start dancing. Then he would stop.
Oh my Lord.
He was really, it seemed to be some type of, I don't know, some type of ecstasy. I don't know what type. He was drunk, but I got the sense that Lord Balaram was really happy with his dancing. The way he was dancing, then he looked round as if he was communicating with Balaram and put his arms in the air and carry on. Then he looked round again. So I was thinking, now that person's definitely going to be attracted to, or perhaps even more, perhaps, you know, he can attracted to devotional service, perhaps not in this life. He's Prabdha karma is such that he may not make it to a Mangalarti in this specific life, next life. So yeah, unknowing devotional service, and it's very powerful. That's why it's very important for us to give a good impression to people who come in touch with us, or the temple, or the Krishna consciousness movement. Yeah, we can, if we come across as being nice people, then persons will have faith in us, and that means will have faith in Krishna. Yeah, just like the postman who comes to the temple, you know, the persons who come to, even the persons from the health and safety who come to check out the kitchen in the restaurant. If devotees are nice and pleasant towards them, that will give them faith. Like personally, I remember many years or before I joined Krishna consciousness, I was at a friend's house, and one of our friends who was a bit of a leader type, you know, who at least put himself forward like that. He was speaking about the Hare Krishnas. I can't remember what it was, but just because he mentioned the Hare Krishnas, I thought, wow, I have to check these people out. Let me check these people out, you know. So that was, you know, so I had some type of faith. So yeah, faith is a basic human. It's there, part of human nature. Otherwise, one won't get on the plane. Like a few years ago, I go to India often. One time I went to India, and I got an internal flight to South India. I had faith that I would get there and I would get back. But when I got to South India, when I was there, the plane company I was supposed to fly out from went bankrupt. So I quickly lost my faith in a budget Indian Airlines. Anyway, going off the track a little bit here, but I'll ask another question here. Do sometimes some statements, do we find sometimes some statements in scripture, some statements of Prabhupada, anyone experience your faith is challenged in any way? Or maybe things are happening in your life where it makes you question? Anyone in that category?
Mhm.
I-
Yes,
yeah, I-
sometimes, but again, there are some places Lord is saying, Mahaprabhu says, whichever you handle, you will be my Lord unconditionally. So
So,
even it is challenge, there are answers again.
yeah, so Nitai Mata, she's speaking about firm faith. This is called nishta. One has firm faith. That means that even if you're practicing Krishna consciousness, and there may not be for you the specific results, at least at that present moment in which you're reading in scripture, freedom from anxiety and full of bliss, you may not be experiencing that, but you have faith in the process. And so despite what you may not be experiencing, you continue with your practice of Krishna consciousness. That's quite a deep faith. Yeah. And that's
Yes, and Prabhu,
Mother Lavanga, please. Yes.
yeah, I was thinking another reason why people have problems with Krishna consciousness is the statements about women, because like currently, like mainstream, like society at the moment are all on this equality thing, so they just cannot accept anything that says, women are less intelligent or women are subordinate. They just cannot accept it. It's like totally incredible for them. And to bow down to people like is also quite difficult for a lot of people. So they can't even like develop faith enough, because those things that they kind of like are barriers.
Yeah. And that's what's being mentioned here, actually. We're reading text 39. Let's just, and that's mentioned in the next verse, that actually the type of faith we need is the one that Nimai Mata was speaking of, for us to be successful in spiritual life. But Mother Lavanga is bringing up a very relevant point. There's some statements that Prabhupada makes. For instance, she gives the example of Prabhupada referring to women as being less intelligent. Now, we're not going to get into that discussion here, the parts of that.
Yeah.
But for some people, it's too much. They don't really comprehend and they cannot understand, especially in today's what's called woke society.
Yeah.
That, and I've had, where was it? Some person was, I was preaching to one person at one time, and what was it? No, it's his son, and he has a couple of, I know his father, and he has two sons, and they're musicians. They're quite well known in their area, and they were into Krishna consciousness to some degree. But when they read these statements of Prabhupada, their faith was challenged. So I sent them some articles to try and help them to understand. But it's interesting how it just goes to show the sublimity of faith, where some of you, or all of you here, probably some of you, I don't know, there's a few people here, but we read these statements of Prabhupada, which may seem to go against the modern grain, so to speak, but we have this underlying faith in Prabhupada, an underlying faith in Krishna consciousness. So not everyone will have that, actually.
Yeah,
Mm.
also
Yeah.
I was just thinking, you
Yes.
know, regarding the moon landings, like lots of
Yes.
devotees completely could not accept that Prabhupada said that they did not go to the moon because they saw it on TV, like people landing on the moon, apparently. And so they could not accept that Prabhupada was saying they didn't go to the moon. And that was very challenging. Some people, I think some devotees even left over that. But I like to apply what Prabhupada said. You know, the scripture, you've just got to accept the scriptures on
Wonderful.
the basis that they are the scriptures.
Yes.
Because sometimes
Yeah.
you've just got to accept, like cow dung is pure.
Yeah, exactly.
You've just got to accept it
Mm.
because the
Well,
scriptures say it.
It's called axiomatic truth, and that's how we should approach the Vedic scriptures.
Wonderful.
And as
Yes.
for instance, that the cow dung, what did you say that cow dung is purifying? Was that what you said?
Yes,
Yes.
the cow dung is
Yeah.
pure.
Yeah.
You just, you know, you take it like that's what the scriptures say. That's what
And
it is.
And the
it so
corn shall
happens,
blow in.
just on this point, where it so happens that on the study of cow dung, it is found to be antiseptic.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Very true. Yeah.
But yeah, there's some things which are going to be beyond our comprehension. For instance, we are practicing spiritual life, but have any of us seen the spiritual world? Yes or no? Perhaps some of you are very advanced, but it's quite a what we're being offered is quite fantastic from the material perspective, that there is a realm where there's no time and where Krishna exists eternally, and also for the existence of the soul. We may not have seen the soul, you know, but we accept the words of Bhagavad Gita. Now, some may say it's blind faith, but what's
No.
another word for what's not? Yeah, sometimes the atheists will accuse the theists of having blind faith, but it's not actually blind. It's actually based. You could say, and I won't go on a tangent here, but the fact is that we have imperfect senses, and there's things beyond their grasp. So how are we to understand what is beyond the grasp of our senses? So that's where the Vedic scriptures come in. But it's not blind, because if we practice, then as we practice, and to that degree we practice, we will perceive the result. Or we will, yeah. Krishna says, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. So anyway, you can see that what we're trying to create a picture here, that faith is a very important aspect of Krishna consciousness. And it's not something that's static. It's something that grows.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the faith we have a certain amount of faith to bring us into the association of devotees.
Prabhu, I
Yeah,
was
please.
just thinking, especially when you say, okay, about female, why I sometimes don't understand
Really?
why are we brooding on this? Why are we wasting on one sentence thinking female is not less intelligent? Why are we brooding on this? Well, there are so much to take in, rather brooding on one sentence and going on and on about it. I tend to really don't understand that.
Yeah,
Why?
well, that's from your perspective, yeah, but there are some, it's quite an issue. So we may have to give them some, if we feel we're self-capable, or we see we have enough realization and we've studied Prabhupada's books, then we can help them to understand what Prabhupada actually means. But you're right, there's no need to, there's much more to Krishna consciousness than that. And let's not let that hold us back.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I was thinking our faith depends on how we're practicing our Krishna consciousness as well.
Hmm.
The deeper you practice, you will find you can follow, you can cope with faith, you can understand. Like you have problems, yes, but then you come to a point when you know Krishna is doing your karma, you're getting a reaction to karma, and Krishna is only giving you a fraction of what you deserve, and on top of it, Krishna is also helping you to get over it. And then when you get over something, you realize, you see the bigger picture, and you think, why did Krishna do that? At the time you thought this, whatever. But you see a big picture and you think, wow, Krishna is amazing. How he did everything. How does he do this? You know? So then your faith grows and grows. You know?
Experiential faith. Faith is based on experience as well. Yeah.
And then if you come to another problem in your life, because material world, you're going to have problems one by one, then your faith would have increased and you would feel, okay, mind, you be quiet. I'm going to depend on Krishna. Krishna is going to sort it out. You know, so it does help.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remembered why Shishika Prabhu says, change every obstacle to an opportunity to grow towards Krishna.
Yeah, so we're hearing from yourselves, Chandravali and Avani here, that's what you're speaking is someone who has firm faith. You know, so Chandravali much is explaining, what it means to have firm faith. Yeah. And so it comes generally in the beginning, it's going to come, as we mentioned, perhaps in the previous life, by unknowing devotional acts. But also it comes from associating with devotees, and Srila Prabhupada, that is pointed out in the Nectar of Devotion. Yeah. So any other questions from anyone else out there on this subject of Shraddha, faith? Again, this point, emphasize this point, is something that's not static, and it increases as we progress in spiritual life. Yeah. Now the next verse is going to describe what happens if we don't have such faith.
One question. Yeah. You know, the last sentence, a person who is faithful to Krishna and who controls the senses can easily attain perfection in the knowledge of Krishna consciousness without delay. Yeah. So how does one become faithful to Krishna? Because most people would practice and they would say, okay, I'm practicing nicely, I'm ticking all the boxes, I'm doing everything. But when they do come to a situation, then their faith is not so strong. So how does one have better faith to control the senses by which you will get the knowledge of Krishna?
I think there's a couple of questions you're asking there.
Yes.
But I think all of us at some point in our spiritual life, our faith will be challenged, you know, our faith will be challenged. That's why the association of devotees is very important. Say, for instance, we're going through difficulties in life. Like, I remember a few years ago now, there was a mother in Leicester, a devotee, and her 2 or 3 children were killed in a car accident. You couldn't think of anything worse to happen to anyone, especially to a mother. So obviously her faith is going to be challenged. You know, there was a case in Hungary where a girl had just given birth, beautiful, married to give birth to a young boy or girl, and she went home, and then the baby happened to turn over with his mouth, you know, on its stomach, and suffocated. You can imagine a very difficult thing. So, and of course, her faith will be challenged. But what pulled them through, or what's going to pull us through, is the association of devotees. And we may be good to also have someone we can reveal our mind to. That when our faith is challenged, we can say, I really don't understand what's going on. Can you please help me? You know? So if I answer your question, that's how we can get through challenges, is to associate with devotees. If we're finding our faith is becoming, where our faith is shaken a bit, then we need to take shelter of the Lord's devotees to help us to understand. For some, they may not need it. They may immediately they may not need it, may have faith that whatever's happening is by the will and the mercy of Krishna. Then the other aspect of your point was, what I was going to say, I lost my, what was it, the other part of the question? To say again?
All about like controlling
the senses, But this is part of the deal. This is part, that's why it's said here, one who controls their senses. So Krishna's asking that of us, to follow certain principles in life. And then we will be gifted with a deep faith in Krishna consciousness. So in other words, for one who is sense controlled. So in other words, by controlling the senses and practicing Krishna consciousness, we will experience an inexplicable, reassuring happiness and faith that comes from within, or actually comes from Krishna. If we say, no, I will only eat prasadam. No, I will control my senses. No, my senses want this. My senses want to look at that. But Krishna says this is not favorable. So we control our senses. And then from that, we will have our faith will deepen. So that's what's, I don't know if I answered your comment stroke question. So, because if we don't control our senses, then it's going to be difficult for us to progress in a very assertive way in our Krishna consciousness, And we will doubt. We will start to doubt the process, Doubts will start to come if we do not endeavor to control our senses. Now, there's another aspect where someone may have great faith, but they become overwhelmed by the objects of the senses, and they kind of, I could say, fall away from the principles. That's something different, but they have faith in the process, and they, in one sense, they become very repentant, and they pray to Krishna. I'm such a useless devotee. This happened, that happened. They actually have faith, but they're circumstantially overcome by uncontrolled senses. But they have faith in the process, and they become very repentant. Yeah, that's another situation. Yeah.
Prabhu,
Please,
another thing I was thinking, just because we came to Krishna consciousness, it doesn't mean that all our karma, we have a baggage, we brought a baggage anyway.
Yeah.
So we can't just conclude we are doing everything. So Krishna, it's your job, you look after. Yes, you can say that, but Krishna has his ways to look after us, to bring us back to him.
Yeah,
so we have to
teach us.
that also.
He has to prepare us in a certain way to actually enter the spiritual world. So there's lots that has to happen. I can just see a hand from, I don't know if this is a reading hand or it's a question from Payal.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhu, it's
Hare
a
Krishna,
reading.
That's a reading, that's a reading hand. Okay, no problem.
Okay, so I got one more little thing to ask.
Yes, please.
So we know that we have defects. So we have imperfect senses. So how can we then judge any situation with imperfect senses?
Wow.
I mean, so how do you then have your faith that what Krishna is, that kind of thing I was thinking.
Yeah, someone could answer this.
Guru Sadhu Shastra.
Can I?
Yeah, let's
I know.
someone else talk about that, please.
Yeah, I need somebody to explain to everybody else.
I heard someone's voice out there apart from Nitai Mata. All respects to
Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna. It was me. Please accept my hand.
Katarina, is that right? Hare Krishna.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
well, I would, just as Nitai Mata said, Guru Sadhu Shastra, but for me, I would like to give like more practical example. So, for example, before when I was married, my husband, ex-husband, was very violent to me. There was violence every day towards me, towards our older son. And later on, when I became pregnant, he was violent to me, even while I was pregnant. And for me, I was praying every day to God, please fix it. Please fix it, make our marriage good again, make him understand and make him treat me better and this and that. And the more I would pray this way, the worse the violence became. And I was so desperate that there was just one day I prayed to God, if you want me to leave this situation, then show me. And the following day I left. So sometimes if there is something that is good for us, it will come to us easily. But if it's not good for us, regardless how hard we try, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I can understand your point. Yeah. So that's kind of quite a deep faith. Yeah. So we have to, it may not go to plan. So in other words, we pray to Krishna, and the immediate result might not come. But I think Mother Katarina is nicely explaining. But Krishna has, okay, you've prayed like this, but it's going to happen like this. We have certain expectations from Krishna. Oh, Krishna, like we want to click our fingers. Oh, Krishna, okay, make some magic happen. But it may not be like that. It may be we have to go through some time in that situation. Then at some further point, things will change. Things may change. So that's also another aspect of faith. Very nice you bringing this up, that Krishna is not our order supplier. We may pray to Krishna, but it may be that it may not be, Krishna may not see it fit to immediately change things. Yeah. But the overall, I think the overall faith of a devotee is that, Prabhupada says here, simply by acting in Krishna consciousness, everything's gonna be all right. Don't worry about a thing. Yeah, if we just act in Krishna consciousness, then we may not understand how things are going to unfold, or what it's going to look like, but Krishna has got us covered. Yes, sorry, I think I heard a voice that was recognized Dhananjaya's voice. Is that correct?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Welcome back, Dhananjaya Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. So I wanted to expand a little bit more on the last point that you said, that some devotees, even though their faith is strong, they get overwhelmed by the
pushings of the senses.
Pushes of the senses. I am able to relate with this because I have complete faith. I have full faith, but I am not overwhelmed by pushes of senses. I am more overwhelmed by the process in general. I feel that the same process is not necessary. The same process will work for everyone. I mean, this is my recent experience, which is why I just wanted to expand this a little bit on this. I am able to relate. I really admire the way special forces, or basically the army, one of the most elite forces in the army, the way they live their lives, they are also spiritual up to some extent in order to reach those levels. And if I relate this process, the way we are trying to achieve Krishna consciousness by chanting, and I mean, I'm not questioning that this is correct or incorrect or something like that. I'm not judging. But this same process is not necessary that it will work for soldiers when they are on field. They need to have some kind of aggression. And if they chant, and if they keep, if they try to strengthen their consciousness, focusing on Krishna every time, they will become more, what we say, humble and they won't be able to perform their duties on field. So what I was experiencing is that I have certain when I am surrendering myself fully to this process, I start following this process. I know I'm not at an advanced stage, so I can't say whether. So basically, the way it has worked out for me is I got overwhelmed with the process, and I feel that it is not necessary that same process works for everyone. For having some kind of endeavors and to chase those endeavors in life, because people may also have certain aspirations in life. They want to evolve themselves in a certain way, along with following a devotional path. So when I am following this devotion path, surrendering myself completely, following the process, I feel very, very satisfied, and I feel I just don't need to do anything in life other than following this devotional process. That's what I feel, which is why I am not able to balance.
You can summarize your
in
points.
The other.
Go on.
Yeah. So basically, I'm not able to summarize this, Prabhuji. I just
what you're saying.
I like what you said, Dhananjay. I like when you said about a soldier going to fight, and then if he's Krishna conscious, he can be Krishna conscious, but he's as a duty. Like when Arjun had to fight, Krishna told him he has to fight. Okay, it's like he got like his senses. I can't fight all these people, but for Krishna he did. So same way when you were saying that these soldiers going out there and they have to fight, then they have to fight. You know, they can't just become humble and oh no, there's another soul there. I can't do that, because I can relate to that, because we also got the same instruction from a guru recently. So it's yes, one has to judge the situation and act accordingly.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dhananjay, but I couldn't follow exactly everything you said. Your voice was breaking up a bit. I caught a couple of things, so perhaps I'm going to just comment upon that, whether I understand. One is that we should set ourselves realistic goals. You know, if we, from this point on, I will never, ever, you know, I will never, ever look at the opposite sex. I will never, ever, you know, watch news. I will never, ever overeat. I will never, ever. If we give ourselves unrealistic goals, say in the beginning we might find ourselves becoming disappointed. You know, okay, I will chant 64 rounds every day. You know, I don't know if I understood it was breaking up a bit, but just few parts I heard. So that's why I'm answering this way. We should have realistic expectations. Otherwise, we may lose faith in the process. You know, okay, if I'm going to, at least for the next 6 months, I'm going to offer all my food to Krishna. So,
can I ask you a question?
Sorry, just one follow-up thing to add on this is when we make realistic goals, we see other devotees, they are trying their level best to gain Krishna consciousness. Is when we think that, oh no, am I putting enough efforts? In the end, Krishna is all that matters. So why should I endeavor on other things? Let me focus on Krishna only. These kind of thoughts come.
Yeah, that's something. That's why
you start accelerating a lot more than what you actually are capable of in Krishna.
Yeah, that's why we really we have to take a objective stand back and look at the whole Bhagavad Gita itself and what actually is happening here is Arjuna is a warrior, and he's not being, in other words, he is a warrior, and he's being instructed to actually engage in a horrific war by Krishna. So what I'm trying to say here is that becoming Krishna conscious, especially if we should be quite clear, if we're not living in a brahmachari ashram and we're not in a renounced order of life, we have to work in this world. And the knowledge of Krishna consciousness should give us the means or the enthusiasm to work in this world, but with a sense of detachment. So it's not that when we become Krishna conscious, we actually give up being involved in the material world. That maybe for some, if you're contemplating, or if you're in it happens to be your life situation seems to be and to stay as a brahmachari, that's one thing where you completely dedicated your whole self. But that may not be the case. So Krishna consciousness is teaching us how to act in the world as we are maneuvering in the world, just like Arjuna is being taught how he can engage in his occupational duty. And this is a common thing when people first take up Krishna consciousness, when they realize and read about the futility of material life and material goals, they find it sometimes hard to continue in their workplace with the zeal that's often needed. Yeah. But actually, we should do our work. If we dedicate our work to Krishna and we're giving the fruits of our work and we're dedicating our activities to Krishna, then we should be just as expert as Arjuna, and we can work with a sense of detachment as well. So we should find that our material duties should go better the more Krishna conscious we are. So I don't know if that answered your comment, but perhaps I did my best. Okay.
Thank you.
So perhaps
that's helpful.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
I was wondering about this purpose, because where it says a person who is faithful to Krishna, you explained it as someone who has faith in Krishna. But I wonder, because I understood it like a little bit different way. So I wonder if it's correct understanding or not. Because what I understood is faithful to Krishna is like that Krishna is my supreme personality of Godhead, that I don't need to do any other demigod worship. You understand me?
Yes, go on. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and with the regulative principles, because sometimes when you speak like with the Shaiva, they would say, oh, I use ganja because Lord Shiva uses it, and they say that, and they get intoxicated and he doesn't. And same with the Shaktas, because they say, oh, I can eat meat because Kali Ma, she eats meat and this and that, but it's against the regulative principles. So I was thinking if it can be understood this way as well.
Yes, very much so. So yes, I would say, yeah, very much so. You have complete faith in Krishna. That's what Prabhupada means actually here. One is called a faithful man who thinks simply by acting in Krishna consciousness, he can attain the highest perfection. There is no need. That's why Krishna kind of requests that from his devotees, to have unflinching devotion towards him. Yeah. And have complete faith that Krishna will take care of your spiritual life and take care of your material life as well. There's no need to pray to other devas, etc. Krishna is encouraging Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita in a number of verses to have complete faith in him. It's Sarvadhamam Priyachya. We know the famous verse, 1866. So I would say, let's anyone else has any other comments, I would say that's a correct understanding for sure. Thank you.
I just wanted to share something which Pankajangari Prabhu used to say. If you have difficulties, everything, please go to Lord Narasimha. Krishna, don't disturb him. He's playing the flute. He's playing the flute. He wants to be with his old gopi friends. So please go to Narasimha Dev. So but because he is our, he will remove all obstacles.
Yeah. So
Prabhupada, go to Krishna Balaram.
go on.
Prabhupada said to go to Krishna Balaram with your problem.
Solve your problems.
Yeah, Krishna Balaram, yeah. And
Yeah, so that's a teaching you're going to hear, because we're being like, no, we're actually taught what is to develop pure devotional service, and that's what it entails. That one is complete faith that Krishna is in control of one's life. But it so happens that one may not be on that platform. So therefore, akamo shabo kamo va. If one is going through stress, is going through anxiety, also, and one wants alleviation from that, then at least come to Krishna. At least go to Krishna. Kamo sabo kamo va. Yeah. So the different devotees on different levels of accomplishment. Some are beginning bhakti, are beginning the process of devotional service. And so it's good that there's someone that may pray to Krishna to pass their exams. Okay, it's a material request. And yes, you're right. Don't disturb Krishna. He's playing the flute. but that's coming from that's the mentality of a more purified devotee, of a more advanced devotee. But so I'm just trying to say that is correct. Of course that's correct. And that's what we read. But there may be some situations for some people that they need to pray to Krishna, even if, like Mataji was sharing the experience, a very unpleasant experience that she had. She was praying to Krishna, please get me out of this situation. Please get me out. It wasn't that she thought, oh no, I won't disturb Krishna. No. And Krishna heard her prayers. Krishna was watching. Yeah, so it's quite a deep subject, isn't it? Especially when we speak about the process of Krishna consciousness, and it's going to be approached according to the specific level of Krishna consciousness that we are at. So there's all types of correct mentalities for different persons at different levels. But what you're saying is right. That's the ultimate what we want. We should have complete faith that Krishna is in control, just like Prahlad Maharaj had complete faith, And
we say that, we're praying to Krishna, Krishna help us, Krishna help. But Krishna's energy is going to be there. Krishna is going to carry on playing his flute and with his boys and cows and whatever. But he has only.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Go and help you in whatever situation. So, but Krishna wants you to surrender to. Krishna wants you to ask him for help. He likes it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Don't worry, Krishna's not going to put his flute down.
And come and help.
But then again, I'm wondering, is Krishna's energy different from Krishna? I don't think it's different.
I missed that part. No? Say again.
No, I said that Krishna's energy is non-different from Krishna.
Yes.
It is non-different from Krishna. That is no doubt. But at the same time, Krishna, in other words, the material energy is going on under his direction. No doubt. But he's otherwise detached from it, and he mentions that in Bhagavad Gita.
Prabhu, he's using his energy to filter us. That's the job of the Maya.
Krishna will.
We should be filtered. We have to be filtered all the time.
That's an interesting way to describe our progress. We're being filtered. We're being all the bad qualities have been sieved out. But but for a devotee, Mahatmanastumampada Devam Prakutim Ashrataha. So a purified devotee is under the control of the internal energy. So the material world is acting under the direct hand of Krishna when it comes to a devotee. Yeah.
Prabhu, can I ask a quick question?
Please, yes.
Yeah. So, is it true, like Krishna's? We are like servant of Krishna. So, Krishna, while we are chanting Krishna's name, that's more better than, and that's giving more power to us than serving Krishna. I mean, it's like we are servant, like we are worshipping the deities and all dancing in front of deities and all those stuff. But while we need to get more power. Power means like if we like have to ask I don't know how to say that. I mean, if we just need to ask for mercy from Krishna, or ask for any blessings from Krishna, so for that we have to chant very attentively, and only then we can get it. Not only by doing Krishna's, serving Krishna deities. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a few things you're mentioning there, but Krishna consciousness comes as a package. For instance, we have the chanting of the holy name, and the actual translation of the chanting is that we're praying to be engaged in Krishna's service. And service is a very important aspect, say practical service. For instance, you mentioned dancing. That is a specific service that Krishna requests of his bhaktas to sing and dance for his pleasure. So the chanting is we're actually asking for service. And we see that all devotees have a specific service for Krishna. So it's not one or the other, or one is better than the other. By chanting Krishna, we get service to Krishna. And by serving Krishna, we get inspired to chant Krishna's holy name. So it's not just one or the other. It's actually
interrelated.
Yeah, we have to. It's good to have something, because we are servants of Krishna. Of course, servants of Krishna means we follow the instruction to chant his holy name. But being a servant of Krishna means you have some service, whatever it may be. It may be just taking care of the family in a Krishna conscious way. It may be working and giving some fruits, or it may be doing some service within a temple, helping some way in the preaching mission. So whether one is better than the other, you can't have one without the other, actually. The devotee will chant the holy name and will serve the holy name as well, perhaps by spreading Krishna consciousness. I hope that helped. Hope that addressed the question.
Prabhu, my understanding is like if we leave our, if we surrender at every activity, like in Krishna conscious way, that's giving us more positive aspect of doing an activity. And while we need to like energize ourselves, we have to chant Krishna's name, like mantra.
Yes. Good, but that is, you're right. That's the fundamental spiritual practice is actually, you're right, is chanting Krishna's holy name. Yeah. That is especially the practice in this present age, is chanting Krishna's holy name. And that should inspire us to serve Krishna. Yeah. Okay. We better stop there. I had prepared to finish this chapter today. But we just read one verse, but wonderful discussion. Just goes to show how much wonderful discussion we can have on just one purport, isn't it? We could probably continue this discussion for another hour. It's just one purport. So wonderful discussion, but let's continue tomorrow, and we'll call on Payal. Has had your hand up, Mother, to read. Sorry we didn't get to you, but if you tune in early tomorrow, then you can read first, I promise. Okay, so thank you everyone for this wonderful discussion. I definitely feel very enlivened by your association and this discussion, and I hope it's helped. So look forward tomorrow and spread the word. It's the same link, and please join me. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ki jai.
Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai. Devotee Sangha ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
I pressed that red button that says end meeting for all. Sorry. Hari Bol.